up, fight fans? Welcome to the Denver DenverSportsBetting.com's MMA preview show powered by the MMA Plug. DenverSportsBetting.com, your one-stop shop for all Colorado sports. Now that sports gaming is legal in Colorado, don't make your bets unprepared and have to tap out. Check out Denver Sports Betting for wagering, advice, previews, and picks. I am Ron Kruck. I am the voice of the Legacy Fighting Alliance on UFC Fight Pass, and joined, as always, by my partner, Colorado MMA journalist Jordan Kurtz. Hey, Jordan, good day to you, sir.
Ron, it's a beautiful day out here. You know, it's fight week, one of the biggest ones of the entire year, capping off a historic run really over in Fight Island for the second tour for the UFC. I'm just so excited to see one of the most entertaining matchups on paper that we can speak of in recent history.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. I mean, we've talked about this before, but, you know, while the entire universe has been affected so greatly by COVID-19 in 2020, somehow the MMA world, and especially the UFC, has managed to produce events and fight through the pandemic. I mean, I wrote it down that after COVID canceled several UFC shows, they came back, Jordan, May 9th with a vengeance. I mean, since then, since May 9th, they have staged 30 events in 23 weeks. Now, that includes the midweek contender series. But bottom line, I mean, this has been an unreal run for the UFC, and you got to give props to Dana White and the entire organization for fighting through these unprecedented times.
Oh, 100%. You know, Ron, and that's great that the UFC has. I just still cannot wait for everything else to come on for the rest of all these young fighters who are trying to come up, because I'm sure you're well aware of the Mark Raymundi piece that came out last week that was pretty alarming as far as this fighters that are at that level of fighting for a promotion that has those streaming services available to them, like the UFC, LFA, Bellator, CFFC. There has been just a significant drop-off as far as overall events for those guys. So I hope that everybody gets their opportunities to shine under the bright lights soon.
Great points. We need to get local MMA back because that is the heart and really the foundation of this sport. And it was a great article, kind of put into perspective what's going on in the MMA world right now with local shows not being produced. But you know, we carry on, and the incredible run of shows has taken us to this weekend's blockbuster UFC 254 pay-per-view. And really what a long, strange trip it's been getting to this UFC lightweight title unification bout between the interim champion and Colorado's own Justin Gaichi and, of course, the champion Khabib Nurmagomedov. The titles, Jordan, will finally be unified this weekend at UFC 254, although it does seem a little strange that number 3 ranked Tony Ferguson is not involved, you know, after 5 failed attempts to make Ferguson versus Khabib happen. Gaichi crashes the party after he beat down Ferguson, took his spot in this championship fight, and it's what it should be, matching up the champion and the number 1 contender.
You know, I couldn't agree with you more there. This was for many a years the opportunity for Tony Ferguson, but last May, Justin Gaichi fought the perfect fight against Tony Ferguson underneath the tutelage of the great Trevor Whitman. If he is able to replicate that mental space and not go beside himself, because that's one thing that I feel like Justin is a guy who rides on energy, and that's where I feel like the crowd not being there last time was a massive benefit for him. In those moments where he would have normally, you know, after he lands a big kick, lands a big punch, he might have tried to pounce. But because there was no crowd to kind of really feed off that energy, he was able to pull back on the proverbial reins, if you will. And I think that he was able to have a much more calculated approach. Khabib, it does not matter. You put Khabib on a mountain, you put Khabib in a sold-out arena, you put him on Mars.
Basement.
Khabib is Khabib. It is going to be the biggest fight for both of them in their career. I think that they are
Yep.
each the most talented opposition that they have faced. There is not a better matchup, arguably, in UFC lightweight history than what we're going to see on Saturday night.
Well, and that is the storyline, my man. I agree. And we get MMA during the day. UFC 254 going down inside a Flash Forum on Yas Island in Abu Dhabi. The early prelims air on UFC Fight Pass and ESPN Plus at 10:30 Eastern. That's 8:30 here in the Mountain Time Zone. Nothing like some bacon and eggs and a Bloody Mary to get you ready for the fights. And then the action switches over to ESPN2 and ESPN Plus for the remainder of the prelims, 10 a.m. Mountain. The main pay-per-view card starts at 2 p.m. Eastern, noon here in the Mountain Time Zone on ESPN Plus. And I'm with you. I think this is the most anticipated title bout in the history of the UFC lightweight division, as an undefeated champion in 28 fights meets the young challenger who has smashed his way to 4 straight KOs to earn this title shot. Really, in a way, the classic wrestler versus striker, but with some very intriguing twists as well. The main event breakdown is sponsored by 3070 Sports Bar and Grill, located in Westminster. Come down to the 3070 Sports Bar to try their golfer's delight. And they also have a 420 Vegas bombs. That's the 3070 Sports Bar and Grill, located on West 120th Avenue in Westminster. Current odds as of this recording from, of course, DenverSportsBetting.com and BetRivers. Get to betrivers.com right now, sign up, and enter the promo code DSB, Denver Sports Betting, DSB 250, to earn a 100% matchup bonus up to $250. That's betrivers.com. Current odds coming in. The champ is a big-time favorite as of right now. Khabib Nurmagomedov at minus 330, and the comeback on the underdog, Justin Gaichi, is plus 270. Jordan, I think both of these guys have fairly predictable game plans no matter what they say. Gaichi wants to stand and strike. Khabib wants to look for the takedown and keep this fight on the mat. And really, who is able to implement their strategy could walk away with the title. Let's break it down. Give us your take, man.
I think that as far as this fight goes, it's going to depend on if Justin Gaethje can stay within the black line. Now, what is that black line that I speak of? If you take a notice of the octagon, you're going to see an inner rim that basically is, think of it like a concept in baseball, like the warning track. If Justin Gaethje finds himself in between that black line and the fence, you can pretty much call it good as good night Irene in that regard for the takedown, because if Khabib is able to get him past that point, he's too much of a bullish strength, just strong, just force you into that fence by any means sort of guy. What do we know about Justin Gaethje's wrestling? We know that Justin Gaethje's wrestling is phenomenal within MMA practices as far as the defensive side goes. We know that he is great in being able to stuff those takedowns, and he's not going to use a whole lot of offensive wrestling. How will that work with a takedown artist off of the fence like Khabib? That is yet to be seen. I do like Justin's situation against the takedowns if he is able to stay within the center of the octagon. One thing that we know about Khabib's takedowns is that he tends to struggle when he does not have the cage to work off of. He's going to really try to use his body to press you up against the fence, and then he's going to work either between that double and single chain wrestling. A lot of times he'll like to grab that single, run the pipe, and then pull you down with your own momentum. He gets that Dagestani handcuff, and then it's a tough situation to get out of at that point. But if Justin can manage to crack him a couple of times on the way in, I think that will be a major difference maker. We did see against Dustin Poirier that Khabib is not untouchable.
That's
so
right.
If he finds that opening and he is able to use precision and precise action as well as timing, I think that may be the ultimate recipe for Justin Gaethje in this fight. How about you, Ron?
Yeah, great breakdown for sure, man. Listen, you the Russian has faced some solid stand-up strikers during this 28-fight win streak. I mean, including, of course, Conor McGregor, Michael Johnson, and as you mentioned, Dustin Poirier. And he was able to negate their striking attacks by the takedowns and ground control. You know, again, his plan will revolve around controlling the pace of this bout, getting the takedown, and then trying to smash or submit Gaethje. While you mentioned it earlier, Gaichi is coming off one of the most brilliantly executed game plans that I've personally seen against Tony Ferguson. Credit to him and, of course, Coach Trevor Whitman. I mean, he blasted Ferguson with those accurate counter strikes, looping hooks, in a variety of really just power punches and combinations that led to that dominant TKO win. The champ, listen, his grappling and his wrestling skills are probably the best that the UFC has ever seen. None of his previous opponents have been able to stop those takedowns and, you know, or get back up once he got him down to the floor. So his ground and pound is just draining. And that's where he makes his paycheck. You know, across the cage for Gaethje, or as I like to call him, Gaethje. Go ahead and Google Inside MMA Kruck pranks Gaichi on April Fool's Day. Had a little fun with the champ one day when I purposely butchered his name over and over. And then when his eyes changed and he looked like he was going to punch me in the teeth, Jordan, I smartly went back to Gaichi.
That's probably a good decision right there.
Thank you. Appreciate that. But listen, Gaichi is the hard-hitting technician, man. I mean, he has incredible accuracy with his strikes and has, listen, he's scored these 4 finishes by some form of knockout, getting to this point. Relies on that punching power, relentless style, and that's what's made him a fan favorite. But as you just mentioned, Jordan, hey, this is a former NCAA Division I All-American wrestler from the University of Northern Colorado right here, who has yet to really shoot in for a takedown, I think, since he's been with the UFC. You know, you got to credit how, though, he has evolved as a fighter. A lot of that credit goes to Whitman. I mean, they've improved everything from his defense, footwork, especially, and his conditioning. As I look at this fight, Jordan, the X factor I have into this fight, I mean, besides the contrasting styles, is for the champion, Khabib, who recently lost his father. He passed away in July from heart complications made worse by the coronavirus. This is a major issue, not having his father in his corner or his training camp. Has the champ had enough time to process and grieve? I mean, only the Russian knows, since he doesn't talk much about it, including to his closest friends and teammates. But that's kind of the X factor I saw going into this, which leads us now to our picks, which every week our picks are sponsored by 3 a.m. Water. This is hydration for the go-getters. If you have not tried this product, you've got to go to 3amwater.com for more information. Jordan, don't want to jinx it, but we've been on fire the last couple of weeks. 5-1 in the past 2 weeks, including some big ones. So let's keep it rolling, buddy. Who do you have in the UFC 254 main event?
Ron, you could not have pointed out a better story or a better narrative focal point of Khabib's entrance into this fight, in that he's had to deal with tremendous adversity with his father. I think that that is something that will possibly work against a guy like Khabib, who is so stoic. I think that he has so much built up that he will be almost overly too aggressive. I think that because of his over-aggression, and this is considering that we are seeing a, within a 90%, similarity of that Justin Gaethje that was in there against Tony Ferguson. If he is as calculated as he was in that Ferguson matchup, I think that he will be able to find that opening and be able to execute with the TKO of Khabib Nurmagomedov. I am going and knew the Justin Gaethje highlight reel will continue within his UFC career.
Wow, man, I love it. Of course, yeah, it's great value on that pick for sure. Listen, Gaethje needs to fight off the takedowns and keep this fight standing. That's a bottom line. I think his athleticism, I think his cardio and his underrated wrestling defense should give him the ability to fend off some of those takedowns and let his fists fly. Now, Khabib has been rocked before, against Poirier, and I think even Michael Johnson, he took some shots, and they don't have the same power as Justin.
Gleison Tebow, too.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Exactly. Listen, Khabib will get some takedowns. I think there's no denying that, but I think it's Justin's wrestling background will help him survive. And if those takedowns continue through this fight and we get into those championship rounds, that's going to wear out the champ who, hey, has great cardio, but so does Gaichi, an impressive gas tank, and that could be the key in him surviving. So, the bottom line for the champ is the same as it ever was. Close the distance, keep the pressure on while going for those takedowns and overwhelm Gaichi with that brutal ground game. If Gaichi can keep the fight standing, keep the champ in range, use his devastating uppercuts and hooks to break him down, I think this is Justin Gaethje's fight, and I'm taking Gaethje to go into the history books as the first man to beat Khabib Nurmagomedov. Nobody, yes, Jordan, goes undefeated in MMA. Not Fedor, not Couture, not St. Pierre, not Anderson Silva, and in my take, not Khabib Nurmagomedov either. Small lean towards the underdog.
Love it.
And the current odds of this recording, according to DenverSportsBetting.com and, of course, BetRivers.com, Jordan and I are going with the underdog. Justin Gaethje comes in at plus 270, and the favorite is, of course, the champion, Khabib Nurmagomedov. He is minus 330. Get to BetRivers.com and sign up now using the promo code DSB250, and they will give you a 100% matchup bonus up to $250. You can't lose, man. That's BetRivers.com. And before we put a bow on this one, Jordan, I'm really just excited to see what happens after this, too, and how all the pieces fall in place for matchmakers Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard, because they got a lot of toys in this stacked lightweight division. I mean, Ferguson, of course, he wants his shot sitting there. And Dustin Poirier, he's earned consideration. And then don't forget, they just signed Bellator lightweight champion 3 times, Michael Chandler, too. What a mix and a lot of fun this 155-pound weight class is going to be.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the, in my opinion, most stacked division in the entire sport there, and it's not even close. I think that there's some other great divisions, but just the saturation of the talent up there at the top of that 155-pound division, I mean, it's crazy to say. Like, you have to start going back to find, like significantly within the rankings to find jobbers, if you will. Every single one of those guys who has a number by their name is legit at 155.
Absolutely. Should be an incredible main event. It's going down on Fight Island, UFC 254 this Saturday. Get your bets in now. Well, thanks for being a part of the DenverSportsBetting.com MMA preview show. We are sponsored by the MMA Plug. Sports betting is exploding in Colorado right now, and you can't go in blind. You need to be prepared for betting previews, odds, picks. Check out DenverSportsBetting.com. I am Ron Kruck, play-by-play man for the Legacy Fighting Alliance on UFC Fight Pass. He is Colorado MMA journalist Jordan Kurtz, previewing the massive UFC 254 pay-per-view card going down Saturday, October 24th from Fight Island. Jordan, time to break down the co-main event, a middleweight matchup between former UFC 185-pound champion Robert Whittaker and Jared Cannonier. This is another matchup that, kind of the theme for 2020 that had to be rebooked. It was initially scheduled to take place at UFC 248. But Whitaker was the one to pull out of that fight for personal reasons. When you look at this, Jordan, really a middleweight title eliminator match. Cannonier is undefeated since moving down to 185. He's finished all 3 of his opponents since he's made that move. He'll look to make it 4 straight wins against Whitaker, who rebounded nicely after his title fight loss to Israel Adesanya. He got a win against Darren Till. An impressive victory could give Whitaker another shot at redemption against Adesanya. And if Cannonier wins, he takes a huge step closer to getting the champion, who Adesanya said he should get the next shot after he won at UFC 253. So the co-main event breakdown is sponsored by the 3070 Sports Bar and Grill. They are located in Westminster. You got to get down there. The 3070 Sports Bar, you will not regret it. Awesome local hangout. Make sure you try their Golfer's Delight. And they also have 420 Vegas bombs. Jordan's a huge fan of those. Can't keep those away from him, I'm telling you. That's the 3070 Sports Bar and Grill located at West 120th Ave in Westminster. All right, Jordan, as we get on to the breakdown, current odds as of this recording coming in from denversportsbetting.com and betrivers.com. It's moved a little. Robert Whitaker actually was a slight underdog at plus 100. It is now, as I just checked the odds, he is a minus 112. And for Jared Cannonier, he opened up at a minus 120. He actually has matching odds right now, is down to minus 112. So some money is coming in on the former champ. Jordan, give us your take on this key middleweight matchup.
I think the biggest question in all of this is, what does Robert Whitaker have left? Yes, Robert Whitaker is not an old fighter by any means. But we have to take this into account that he went 50 minutes with Yoel Romero. He also was knocked out twice in that fight with Adesanya. He was knocked out 2 times in that one single fight. Great. He's also dealt with some mental health issues, with some struggles with burnout and just his overall love for the sport at times. Yeah. My question is what is still left in the tank? And I mean that in the most respectful manner possible. I mean, Robert Whitaker has been nothing but a just role model within the sport for people to look up to and follow. But that is, in my opinion, a very legitimate question. He does have a decent amount of volume of fights within his resume, more than, because we know Cannonier is a dog. He is a dog at 85, and he is the dark horse for that title threat, as Adesanya himself pointed out. That is for a reason. We know that is a known commodity at this point. What we need to have answered is, what does Robert Whitaker have left?
Yeah, I think you make a great point in that. That is truly, kind of my X factor too, is what's going on in the former champion's head. He lost the middleweight strap to Adesanya. That's over a year ago. And then, as you brought up, he pulled out of his fight with Cannonier in March because what he stated as just burnout. He was, it had been a grind on him. So the Reaper takes some time off. He picked up that unanimous decision win over Darren Till, which could prove that once again he's motivated to make that run at the title. But you have to wonder about the damage that you brought up, not only in the title fight, but in those wars with Yoel Romero. The time off, hey, there's no doubt about it, that will help him physically. But still, when you go through some wars like that, sometimes fighters, they change mentally too, and never are able to overcome that. The X's and O's. Listen, Whitaker is such a technical and creative striker. He brings that relentless pace, and a ton of experience. And as you mentioned, he's not old. He's still 29 years old, but he has been through those wars. Standing across the cage, Cannonier comes into this fight 13-4, 8 wins coming via KO for the 36-year-old who started his career at heavyweight. He's gone from heavyweight to light heavyweight, now middleweight. You look at his light heavyweight career, Jordan. I mean, he went 2-3, but his losses came against Teixeira, Reyes, and current champ Jan Wachowicz. So, I mean, he's got some incredible fighters and opponents on his resume. But since moving to middleweight, he's gone 3-0 with 3 stoppage wins. He carries that heavy power in his hands, but he's also he's added some pretty solid kicks to the arsenal as well. Just ask Anderson Silva about that. All right, that leads us to our co-main event picks, sponsored by 3AM Water, hydration for the go-getters. Check them out at 3amwater.com for more information. You will not be sorry. All right, Jordan, I will tee you up. Who you got in the co-main event?
A hungry dog eats, Ron. I am going with Mr. Cannonier. You mentioned that Robert Whitaker had the bounce back win against Darren Till, but let's not forget what happened in that first round with that step in elbow that Darren Till was able to find and land that almost shut the lights out right then and there. Yes, he did get the bounce back win, but did he look world champion or world beater sort of Robert Whitaker that we had saw the past? No. And because of that, along with all the other red flags that have been raised, I say that this hungry dog in Jared Cannonier is ready to pin his ears back, and he is ready to feast.
Dog is hungry for sure. I like the pick. I've been going back and forth with this one. Really, really close. I think there's going to be an entertaining fight. But it's those X factors that keep coming back to me as well with Whitaker, just where he is. Listen, for Cannonier, 4 straight wins and victories over 2 title holders and a 2-division champ from another organization would be very hard to deny him a title shot. So there's a lot on the line for him, but a lot on the line for the former champ and Whitaker as well. I think he's going to pull through. He's going to be able to control and outpace Cannonier. I think he'll be able to avoid those power shots and his combinations. And I think just being 29 years old and having taken the time to rest and heal his body from those wars, that's going to be the key. I'm going with a small lean towards the former champ Whitaker. But this one, I think, is it's a coin flip. It's extremely close.
That's fair.
So the current odds makers would agree with us, Jordan, that it is a coin flip. As of this recording, denversportsbetting.com and betrivers.com, they have the odds even. Both fighters are not even odds, but both fighters are at -112. Get to betrivers.com and make your bets today. If you do so, sign up, enter the promo code DSB250, Denver Sports Betting 250, and they will give you a 100% matchup bonus. Yeah, making it rain. You bet up to $250. betrivers.com. Well, thanks for being a part of DenverSportsBetting.com's MMA preview show. We are sponsored, as always, by the MMA Plug. Just look over Jordan's shoulder. He'll make sure you remember that. Hey, listen, bottom line, folks, sports betting is exploding in Colorado. You need to be prepared. Don't go in blind and be forced to tap out. Betting previews, odds, picks, check out DenverSportsBetting.com for shows like this as well. The MMA preview show. I'm Ron Kruck. I am the play-by-play man for the Legacy Fighting Alliance on UFC Fight Pass. He is Colorado MMA journalist Jordan Kurtz. We are previewing the massive UFC 254 pay-per-view card going down Saturday, October 24th from Fight Island. All right, Jordan, great main event, intriguing co-main event, but some awesome fights on this card too. So let's turn the spotlight on a fight or fighter on the card that you're keeping an eye on.
You know, I kind of had a toss up with a couple because there are some great matchups on this, but one of them I'm not even going to touch between Magam and Ankalaev. Like that Kudaleba fight. No way. I'm not touching that. That's been canceled way too many times at this point. That's like the poor man's version of Khabib. So I will then turn the spotlight and my focus on the heavyweights. So we're going to look at Bam Bam Tai Tuivasa as well as Stefan Struve, the skyscraper.
Love it.
Basically, this is a situation where I feel like Tai Tuivasa, and he mentioned it himself with, I believe it was Ariel Helwani, that he believes he's fighting for his job. He was undefeated until he got to the UFC, had a couple wins early on, but he's now suffered 3 straight losses.
Yeah.
He's a guy who, he's an entertaining fighter overall. Has he had one that was maybe a stinker here and there? Sure, but what you're going to get out of Bam Bam is you're going to get a guy who's going in and chucking them things. And you also keep in mind that he did a lot of training in these last few months with DC. So I think that we can expect to see a little bit of evolution to his game. Now, how does that stack up, being that he's kind of a shorter heavyweight as it is up against the 7-footer and Stefan Struve? That's yet to be seen. Stefan Struve made his return against Big Ben Rothwell a few months back, Ron's favorite guy to make bets for. And unfortunately for Mr. Struve's grapes, they got squashed a few times in that fight. So I don't think he really got a fair shake to really see where he's still at as far as his ability and what's left in the tank. One thing that we do know is that Stefan Struve is still a quality opponent, though, overall. Keep in mind that this is the man who at one point was able to best the heavyweight champion of the world, Mr. Stipe Miocic.
Yeah, absolutely. That should be a fun fight. And Jordan, I'm looking at the odds right now. Extremely close fight. Odds coming in from DenverSportsBetting.com and, of course, Bet Rivers. Struve is at -118 and Tuivasa is at -106. So this one and 2 big men can end the fight in an instant. A very even fight and big for both of these guys, really.
Yep, absolutely. You know, it's a turnkey moment for both guys in their careers, I feel like.
Totally. Well, I love that fight. For me, I was going back and forth, and I actually I'm going to give 2 quickly. You know, my sleeper matchup on this card is Casey Kenny and Nathaniel Wood, which I'm shocked is flying under the radar. What a great last-minute fight to put together. Give Mick Maynard, Sean Shelby some props for putting this one together. Came together just 4 weeks ago. 2 bantamweight prospects meet at a 140-pound catch weight. I mean, this thing should just be a back-and-forth, high-action, nonstop fight and really set the tempo of the card early. Casey Kenny, a guy I know very well. He's one of the hottest fighters on the UFC roster right now and former and only LFA 2 division champion. He has won 4 out of his last 5. I mean, he loves to fight. So active. This will be Kenny's 10th fight since the beginning of 2018. He enters coming in winner of 8 of his last 9 and said 2 straight. You know, I look back at his time in the Legacy Fighting Alliance. He's the only one to capture gold in 2 different weight classes. It was 2018 when Kenny earned a hard-fought, unanimous decision victory to claim the interim flyweight strap over another current UFC star, a guy you know very well, Jordan, and Brandon Royval. And that was a dogfight, as you probably remember.
Yep, 25-minute war.
Absolutely. And he gets that win. 1 belt wasn't enough. He comes back 4 months later to just dismantle the then undefeated Vince Cachero. He earns the vacant LFA bantamweight title. It was so violent that he comes back Only 98 seconds it took him to get that win. Caught the eye of Dana White and the gang. And Kenny would then make his Octagon debut only 8 days later. Unbelievable. And he gets a win over the veteran Ray Borg. So Casey Kenny is fighting as well as anyone right now, but hey, don't overlook England's Wood. This kid has been on a nice run too. His lone defeat in the promotion came against John Dodson, and that snapped an 8-5 win streak. The Brad Pickett protege Wood is looking to start another win streak here at UFC 254. That's my popcorn fight of the night for sure. Current odds coming in from DenverSportsBetting.com and BetRivers.com. The odds have moved a little bit. They were closer, but now Casey Kenny is a minus 190 favorite. The comeback on Nathaniel Wood is at plus 120. I like the odds better when they were closer. I still am thinking I'm going to lean with Casey Kenny in this one. Any thoughts on this one, Jordan?
I like Casey Kenny all the way around in this matchup. You know, I think that Wood is his nickname says it just perfectly. He is a great prospect, but Casey Kenny is just on fire. His training camp has had incredible momentum as of recent, and he looked almost unstoppable. There was nothing that his opponent could do that posed any sort of threat to him just a couple of weeks ago when he fought on Fight Island. And You mentioned giving credit to the matchmakers, but I also have to give credit to Jason House from Iridium Sports on this one as well, to be able to say that, okay, you're already over here. You want to fight? You want to have a quick turnaround? All right. Well, Jason is over there as well on Fight Island over there in Abu Dhabi. And he was able to make that matchup happen while they're still over there and, you know, undergoing these current circumstances with all the COVID regulations. So he was able to get his guy that quick turnaround. It's not always just a matchmaker's thing. It's also that representation who helps get them that opportunity.
Great point. Absolutely. The guys behind the scenes making it happen. Jason House, one of the best for sure. You know, I mentioned I don't love the co-main event, a slight lean towards Whitaker. I like Kenny, but when I was looking and trying to pick where I liked my best bet, I guess, this week, Jordan, it's going against one of my favorite guys in the business, Sam Alvey, unfortunately, as he's taking on Da Un Jung, meeting of light heavyweights. I don't know why the UFC is doing this to Sam Alvey. You know, a 48-fight veteran, 33 wins. The guy has proven he'll fight anyone, anytime. He's been a team player, but the 7-year UFC veteran, he's hit some hard times. 4 consecutive losses, you know, at 34 years old. They don't do him any favors as they throw Zhang in there. 2-0 in the UFC, got the upset in his debut, but then destroyed his next opponent. Crazy knockout power. The Korean prospect is just, you know, has shown that he, when he destroyed Mike Rodriguez with the first round knockout, that he has incredible punching power. Unfortunately, you know, if this was Sam Alvey from 2016, 2017, I'd say, you know, he has that same punching power, but it's not. I just think that instead of giving Alvey a closer fight to say, hey, get back on the winning side and, you know, break that losing streak, they throw him in with a brutal, tough prospect. But that's the business that we are in. As the odds I'm looking at right now, according to DenverSportsBetting.com and BetRivers, Alvey is a plus 300 underdog. Zhang a minus 360 favorite. I like Zhang. I would huge odds. I'd love to put him in a parlay.
Definitely. And that just begs the question from my side, Ron, who in the hell did Sam Alvey piss off? Because
how can you get mad at him? He's always smiling.
Exactly. But look at his last 4 matchups. I mean, you have Superman Span, you have Abreu, you have Jimmy Crute, who looked phenomenal the other night. And then you have Nogueira before that. So you just have to ask, like, who the hell did Sam Alvey piss off to be able to just to be put through the ringer at this point?
Come on. I mean, I think as he's gotten older, the weight cutting issues at middleweight really forced him to move up to 205. And then when you're there, you're facing that row of killers that you just said. I mean, yeah, he must have done something. I don't know how it happens. He's called Smiling Sam for a reason. The guy is just freaking awesome. He brings his wife and puts her in the corner, brings his kids, always hilarious in his post-fight interviews, always smiling. Such a good person in the sports of mixed martial arts, doing a lot of coaching now too. With Team Quest out in Temecula. I see that's where he is, going to transition into, and he'll be great at it. I just hate this matchup for Smiling Sam.
Agreed.
All right, well, that's going to do it for another DenverSportsBetting.com's MMA preview show, sponsored by the MMA Plug. Jordan Kurtz and Ron Kruck with you. Jordan, going to be a great afternoon. Don't forget, the fights kick off early over on Fight Island to the main card here in Colorado. Main pay-per-view card starts at 2 p.m. Did I say 2 p.m. or noon? I think it's
noon our time in the mountain region, and it is going to be at 2 o'clock Eastern time.
The guy knows everything. That's why he's here, folks. Don't go into your sports betting blind. Listen to the man, and I'll throw out some tidbits every so often too. But Jordan, enjoy the fights, my man.
Yes, sir. You as well.
All right. And make sure that you follow us on all forms of social media. Twitter, I am at @rcruck. Jordan is at Peanut Podcast, and Denver Sports Betting is at Betting Denver. Instagram, Denver Sports Betting. Comments from the Peanut Gallery and Crucker7. You can follow us on Instagram. All right. For Jordan Kurtz, I'm Ron Kruck. Enjoy the fight. It's going to be an awesome weekend, and that is all.